I don't know. I only saw one of them camouflaged. He was there. Those eyes disappeared.
Good evening, welcome to the first ever episode of NRL Hunter UK podcast.
Is that what we're calling it?
I think we are now, unless we get a funky name for it. I think that'll do.
I think NRL Hunter podcast, NRL Hunter UK podcast works just fine.
Brilliant. For those that have listened and watched before, I'm Simon and that's Christian.
Hello, everyone.
Seamless. This has taken a while to get here, hasn't it?
It has, hasn't it? And I'm just thinking, we've done the GBPRA podcast, we've done the Holding Left Edge, which we need to do an episode of that at some point.
We're going to do more. Yeah,
we like Holding Left Edge.
We'd have to behave on that one.
Yeah. But yeah, we've since we took on NRL Hunter at the start of 2025, we've always said, haven't we? We need to set up a podcast so we can talk about what's going on with the series and everything else that we're doing. And it's taken us a good few months to get it up and running, but we've been very busy.
We've been exceptionally busy. I've been building a podcast booth. These
I like
lines,
it. Very nice.
The lines, apparently, if you stare at them, you'll see a pirate ship. It's one of those optical things we had when we were kids. Remember them? We'd stare really carefully, and then you'd see something. It's one of those. So anyone that sees a pirate ship gets a special prize.
Yeah, no, I can't do that. I'm very good at looking through a pair of binoculars and seeing rabbits everywhere when they're not there, and it's just bushes and clumps of grass and mounds of mud in a field. But I've never been very good at optical illusions.
Brilliant. I would imagine there'll be a few people listening to this that didn't listen to our previous podcasts, which were very precision rifle focused. We did other stuff, but this podcast is going to purely be about the wonderful thing that is the NRL Hunter format that is now in the UK. Do we need to say who we are? Do we have to do that? I don't know how these things work when you do something new like this.
I don't know, because you always assume that the audience that's listening, probably the audience that's already interested, and they've already seen us do a few videos and social media posts and things introducing ourselves and talking about the series. But we should probably, for those people new to it, do a little bit of a brief introduction, shouldn't we?
Well, how's this sound? For those that I was going to say, for those that haven't had the pleasure, for those that we haven't had the pleasure of their company at matches so far, like what I did then. Because we've run 3 matches and we've met some fantastic people, we've spoken to some fantastic people and all that sort of stuff. For those that have had the benefit, I'm Simon, I'm an RFD up in North Yorkshire, God's Own County. Met Christian through the GBPRA back in the day, and we were fortunate enough to run some matches and be very much involved in the national infrastructure for precision rifle. I really enjoy getting involved in new things and trying to make them work. I think that's probably one of my things that I like doing. And I like walks on the beach, pina coladas, and tackle dogs. There's one of my things. That's pretty much me in a nutshell. Go.
So, Christian, I've been hunting and competing for quite a few years now. As Simon said, we got together during the GBPRA days when we helped to set up that organisation. Putting on precision rifle matches over at Orion, which is very topical. Orion in Wales, which we'll talk a little bit about in a moment. But we helped to put together the first Great Britain and Northern Ireland team that went to the first ever IPRF World Championships in France. We saw the association through the next World Championships into Italy. So we're no strangers to setting up organisations and running matches. And we stepped away from the GBPRA a year or so ago because we, wanted to explore new things, and we wanted to give other people an opportunity to progress that association and take it on to another level. And when the opportunity to look after NRL Hunter in the UK came along, we jumped at it, didn't we?
We did, and we did a Holding Left Edge podcast about it, and I can't remember exactly how far I went into it, but the brief backstory of it was we consider ourselves very fortunate that we are well plugged into the UK shooting industry in terms of ranges and distributors, manufacturers, and what have you. I consider myself very fortunate that I've had long-standing relationships with some of these people who think the same way as we do. And purely by chance, when we were at one of the shooting shows, we were running a stand at Doncaster, weren't we? For Artemis at the time, for Artemis and Bagara. Mark Gardner, a good friend of ours, who runs a fantastic range in the north of England into Scotland. He's got 2 ranges. When we were literally just conversations going around in circles, he said, we need to get this Hunter, have a look at this Hunter format. Now, Christian and I had spoken about Hunter for years previously. We'd watched, I'd say enviously, how it was running over in America. We were aware of HFT over here, and a few people had goes at running Hunter type things, but nothing that ever got any real traction. And we didn't mention it on podcasts. I think we talked about it. I know I remember it coming up in conversation with Rob Ramsden back in the day. And before we knew it, we found ourselves having some really pointed conversations with people in the UK that wanted it to happen, and people that wanted it to happen in as joined up and consistent and national a format as possible. We found ourselves there in pretty much no time, didn't we?
Yeah, absolutely. And we were very clear, weren't we? If there was going to be a Hunter series in the UK, like people wanted to happen, we said, well, it's got to be NRL Hunter, because, you know, that series has grown up across 4 years, now going into its 5th year in the States, extremely popular, fantastic brand. You know, and when you look at the rules of the competition, the spirit that it's competed in, it just ticked all the boxes for us, and we were like, yeah, we've that's what we've got to bring to the UK.
And what was nice is what those that know the UK shooting scene and its independent ranges, because people outside the UK might not realise that a lot of these ranges are staunchly independent and do their own things in their own different ways. It was great. We were able to have conversations with range operators, and they bought into the idea of consistent match format spread across the country in 2-2 and centre-fire, which was the other thing we've not really mentioned. But 2-2 NRL Hunter doesn't exist anywhere else in the world. We were really focused on the fact that we know, or we believe we know, the UK shooting community and what will work. And I've said myself, this country isn't built for centre-fire. We just make it work. We're fortunate to have a handful of ranges, but for rimfire, the world's our oyster. More ranges than we'll probably ever find or could ever conceivably run matches at. But to have all those different people seeing what we wanted to do, buying in, and then the next step was to quite honestly reach out to Travis Ishida, who's the director of NRL Hunter in the States, and have it was a really positive conversation with him, wasn't
Yeah, it was. You know, I think it's fair to say that Travis was, you know, very open to exploring us setting something up in the UK. He was open to us sort of, I guess, trialing the 2-2 format as well. And it was great to have his support there, and he was very gracious in terms of, you know, you guys know your own market. You guys, you know, build it in the way that you see fit and you see best. As long as you stick to the spirit of the competition, spirit of the series, then he was very happy to do what we wanted to do. But thankfully, we haven't had to change much up compared to what how the series runs in the US. And yeah, we've been very fortunate now to, as you mentioned, put on 3 matches, 2 rimfire and 1 centrefire that have been hugely successful.
The interesting thing here is there's no distinction in the way that, you know, the rules are pretty much identical, with the exception of where we brought rimfire in. We've had to add that from scratch. We made a few tweaks. Christian's made some great tweaks in relation to the skills division, which is a podcast in itself, but we'll get to that later. One of the things we were really focused on, and I think it's a bigger lesson I learned, and I know I've got very strong views on it, and the best thing about working with Christian, for those that know us well, is that we quite often don't get on. No, we don't agree is a better way of explaining it. Quite often we don't agree on certain things, and we have some really, really grown-up conversations about it. And we often find middle ground. One of the things we did agree in is how it's got to be community focused. It's got to be focused on the group of people that come to the event, irrelevant of who is the most winningest, as our friends over the pond say, or how the competitions are set up to promote a certain end of the ability spectrum. For me, it's about engaging more people in an ethical enterprise, which is hunting should be as ethical as possible, to try and develop people, make it safer, make it more palatable, increase engagement and all those sorts of things. And we set our stall out quite staunchly, and Travis will be the first to admit we were quite vocal in relation to this, about how we wanted to make it that the community benefited from being involved in NRL Hunter, irrelevant of how they did competitively. And when we started approaching companies to work with, or we already had a few companies we were working with, it was quite an interesting road, that wasn't it? Looking at the partnership model as opposed to good old fashioned sponsorship.
Yeah, and I think that's something that we talked long and hard about, and I think we've struck a really good balance there. We've got a really good model in place that benefits everybody who becomes an NRL Hunter member, regardless of whether, as Simon says, you're the most winningest or you've even competed at a match. There is an opportunity there for you to benefit as a member through partnership discount schemes and so on. And and if you do turn up to a match, we will have that traditional prize table in place, but that's certainly not the main focus of the partnership. It's about bringing something meaningful to every single member, whether you're competing at a match, doing well at a match or not.
Yeah, thanks. Sorry. And for those that haven't had the opportunity to read up on what being a member means, well, first off, membership is free for this year. We're covering that. The next year it'll be £20, which is literally a token amount just to manage membership. The danger is you want to have a meaningful membership that engages. If it's just free and anyone can join and you don't have to renew it, and it loses its engagement factor. Join as a member. Firstly, you can shoot competitions and training, because there will be training coming imminently. When we can find someone's email address, we'll probably get it sorted. The engagement we have with partners is that we want them to support the members through giving them discounts on their products. So you become a member, you can shoot the matches and take part in events, but you also get the discounts through various ways, shapes and forms. Eventually it'll be an automated thing through the website, which will be very clever, but it's beyond me that. For very smart people to work out. And that's on all sorts of items, but we've been quite focused in saying the essentials: a rifle, optics, ammunition, and the essential kit that people need to engage in the sport. We were very fortunate to have some very positive conversations with some of our partners early on, in no particular order, because I've got memory like a sieve, but we're very fortunate that we've struck up a very strong relationship with the team over at Viking for primarily Savage. Those that know about Savage knows the pedigree they've got. They, at the time, for a long time, have been a stalwart and a staple of NRL Hunter in the States. Proven track record, and working with Andy and Emily and the team from Viking has just been fantastic. Those that know me know I've got a long-standing, very positive relationship with Vortex, and it's been great to include Chris from CSW and Vortex UK and Martin from Vortex America in bringing those discounts to our members as well across all the Vortex products. And it's been great to see some of those optics and bits of kit both being bought by members and also on prize tables. Cellular and Bellot through Mike at Westlander and Cellular and Bellot. Brilliant. Members have been buying ammunition at significantly reduced rates and winning ammunition off prize tables. They're the three, what we call our sort of primary partners. the logic being is that even if you turn up to a match, it's your first match or a training event, and you're taking part, irrelevant of where you finish and how you've taken part in that for cheaper than it would be normally. You've bought a rifle cheaper, an optics cheaper, an ammunition cheaper. People may want to do other things, buy the rifles, buy their optics, buy their ammunition, but there's some people that really that will need that discount. Is it safe to say, without sounding like we're being too pitching it too low, there are lots of people out there that don't take part in sport because they can't afford? It's that simple, isn't it?
Mm. Yeah, just those people out there that appreciate that support with what are very expensive or can be very expensive items to them, and that gives them a little bit of extra cash that they can spend elsewhere, and that always helps.
And in the same spirit, we've made a commitment to keep the match prices as low as possible. And we'll get on to Orion a bit later on, but we sit down and we look at what it typically costs to take part in a shooting competition in the UK. Then we go back to the range operator and have a very grunt conversation saying, what are you motivated by? We say this quite openly to some of these range operators, like, what's your motivation? It's just making money, then brilliant. There's customers out there. But if it's about growing a community, being part of what we're doing, looking to build those links in and relationships with some of the manufacturers and get repeat custom back through people that feel like they're getting a real fair deal, then we're in. And those conversations have been fantastic. We've got a fantastic relationship with Mark at Otterburn, not Mark at Gardeners and Dale up at Otterburn, a couple of range up around the country. We're very fortunate. We've just announced, was it yesterday, that we're now going to be bringing dynamic steel shooting back to Orion, which has been so long overdue. But they've moved heaven and earth to bring that price down, and we can have a whole podcast about Orion. We'll do one after the event we've got, but that's no mean feat. And one of the reasons it takes so long to get some of these events announced for us is because we're going to stand our ground to try and bring value to our members, so they're not paying through the nose, and it doesn't become one of those days shooting where they come away from it thinking, I can't afford to keep doing this. Just small percentage is all you need. You don't need to, little bits help, and it adds up over the course of a year when you're shooting multiple competitions.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, as the match director for the matches this season, I've been very focused on making sure that when a shooter puts their faith in us and spends their money to come and have a really good day out, I want to make sure that what they're receiving is an absolutely fantastic quality product. But I can't do that without Simon actually securing the ranges at the price point that we need to secure them at. And, I think we've had, as demonstrated over our past 3 matches, Brian a pro shoot, for the match that we've just had, we've put on some really great shows so far, and I'm sure Orion's going to be topping them all.
And Christian just alluded to something then about putting on good quality matches. Now, that's something we've not spoken about. Now, you and I hadn't either put together or run a hunter match before. This is a completely new thing, and it's safe to say all of the skills and all of the knowledge were consumed from the YouTubes of the world and the Instagrams and learning online. It was literally proper online learning, wasn't it? Like Open University. And it's been a learning curve. It's so far, touch wood, it's gone brilliantly. And I think no small part of that is because of the really healthy dialogue we've got with members and shooters and ROs and range operators, where we absolutely want feedback from people. Hopefully it's more good than bad, but bad feedback or negative feedback or constructive feedback, whatever you want to call it, is never, I don't think, a bad thing. Certainly if you've got the will to change it and make it better. And we've been really lucky in that way, haven't we, to have that open conversation?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, back to our first rimfire match, where fair to say the course of fire had, target sizes on the generous side, distances that were generous towards the shooters. And that was because we really didn't know how the shooters, the hunters would get on when they arrived. Would they be able to find the targets? engaging them in tricky, shooting positions and so on. And we took the feedback that maybe that match could have been made a little bit more challenging. We certainly took that forward into our match at Estelmuir, our first centre-fire match, and again we took that forward into our 12-stage match at ProShoot, which was another rimfire match that we've just shot this weekend. And we demonstrated that all that feedback from the first match was, even, not to say that first match wasn't a great match. We had rave reviews for it, but we took that little bit of feedback into the next two matches, and I think we absolutely nailed it.
I always talk about, or I've always talked about the Morgan King 60-40 split, haven't I? 60% of targets that anyone that turns up should be able to engage, then 40% for your higher level, elite level shooters, whatever you want to call them. We ran the first Quarry one. We were fortunate to have some real talented shooters there, one of whom was Joe Pascal. Forgive me for talking about him out loud. Joe was the one who gave us the feedback saying targets could do with it being a bit smaller. So then we developed what we call the 60-20-20 Joe Pask split. And we did that at ProShoot, and there were people cursing some of those targets. Some people just couldn't find them. Christian went to film someone on stage, 4-minute stage, and I stood behind him filming, and the whole 4 minutes was spent trying to find these targets. It just didn't happen. Then you go on to stages where they managed to locate them, but they couldn't hit them. They were trying the hardest, and it opened up the scores, and it showed those that had the proficiency to hit the smaller ones at distance, but no one hit everything. No one came close, and that was a massive learning curve.
Well,
sorry.
I mean, you say nobody came close, but the maximum score for that match was 88, and our overall winner scored 75. So there was quite a few stages that our overall winner cleaned. No stages that they didn't engage a target on and hit a target on. What was interesting was on those trickier stages where maybe somebody did struggle to find the targets, or somebody struggled a little bit to engage with them, there was somebody else that did well on that stage. And then on the next stage, it was the opposite. That person did better, and it was the other person that didn't do so well. And what I tried to do was plan into the match to make sure that each stage represented a different challenge. No stage I set up the same. And I think that told in the scores, because clearly some stages just lent themselves better to certain people than what other stages did. So yeah, it's a good mix.
There were some really good stages. Now we've shot it now, and Christian, I'm sure we'll be putting the video out of it and all that sort of stuff. But there were stages that were set up in a way that I've never experienced before. I don't think anyone in this country has. Something simple like shooting over bushes. So you've bushes in the immediate foreground where straight away prone, anything down low is out of the way, but you're glassing and shooting at slightly different heights. So people having to sort of peek up over the top of things and adjust themselves. And I found that fascinating to watch. It wasn't like your conventional barricade, because typically if take PRS, for example, if there's a barricade in front of you, you're shooting off it, you're not really going over it. So to watch people have to get their heads around that and get their angles, and it was some of them you'll see on the video, hopefully it'll come through, that they're looking over bushes, nothing metallic or anything, but bushes, and you can literally just see the targets just poking out of the top. So if you don't get your angles up, and you don't get high enough and get your angles, you're not even going to see them. There's a great video of Paul Calvert. I'll spoil it because it's so good. He'll be the first to say, getting his angles completely wrong, getting his tripod out, and he was going for it, and then he moved to the next target, realised he didn't have the clearance, so he just lifted it up and freehanded, didn't
he? Yeah.
And it was just brilliant to watch how he adapted, and it was right on the buzzer as well.
Yeah, I think he got it. I think he got that final round away, that final impact with only a second to spare.
Yeah, so it was a really healthy mixed course of fire, really healthy mixed targets and settings, and it went really, really well. But again, that's learning. So these things are just going to get better and better, especially when we look at some of the mixed topography we've got. Orion excites me greatly. I know Orion at the back of my hand. You've got everything on one range, including water features and all sorts of stuff. So the potential there is massive. So it's been an interesting learning curve. And while we're on feedback, Christian's already an Instagram celebrity and does all that stuff and social media that I don't quite understand. I think one of the things that's worth noting is we've found ourselves, and it was a conscious effort on the stalking directory, which I think has been one of the most positive things we've done. Some of the engagement and feedback we've had from the stalking directory, and for anyone that's not on there, it's brilliant. It's a massive forum. But it's been really healthy that because we've had some really honest feedback. We've had people from there come and engage and take part in competitions. And from speaking to a few people that came to Gardeners, these are people that are really, really experienced active stalkers who've never taken part in competitions, who put their faith in coming up all the way up to Scotland to shoot a match in a competitive environment that they've never been in before, and they excelled. And to watch those people make that transition of being a stalker that's on a forum talking about stalking, it's not really about competition shooting on there. There's a few threads, but for them to come and take part, enjoy it, do well, win trophies, and then some of, we put Orion out yesterday, and one of them's, well, 4 of them have booked straight on. No, sorry, we put it out yesterday. We opened it up. My apologies. And they booked straight on. And one of those is Will, who'll forgive me for mentioning him by name, who was an absolute joy to be around, who said, I can't wait for the next one. And he's straight on. And these are people we've never met before. These are actual stalkers who are now finding value in competition. And I find that brilliant.
Yeah, I think, we've immersed ourselves so much in the past few years, haven't we? Been around precision rifle shooters, target shooters, competitive shooters for so long that we were really interested to see how that hunting community that don't necessarily go to range days, don't go to competitions, what they would think about this type of series, a series based on hunting scenarios. And it's been really encouraging for us, hasn't it, to see these guys that don't normally shoot competitions coming along now and wanting to try their hand at a competition. And, I think part of the motivation is, for some of them, it's testing your hunting and marksmanship skills that you practice so often out in the field, but challenging yourself in a competitive environment. I think that's the motivation for some people, to see how they get along in that environment. But then I think for some of these guys, I think it's like real opportunity just to get more rounds downrange.
Yeah.
Let's face it, when you go out stalking a deer on a weekend, you're not going to take many shots, but you can come along to one of our matches, and get plenty of rounds downrange. That's great practice, and challenging yourself, putting yourself out your comfort zone, and testing your equipment in different scenarios. So yeah, I think whatever people's motivation, whether it's competitive or practice and training, I think our matches, tick all the boxes for people.
And I think, like you said, then people stretching the skill set or increasing the skill set is an interesting one, and it might be a worthwhile point for us to point out what we intend to achieve here. We shoot a certain way in the UK. We stalk in the UK. We don't shoot long range like they do in America. Shooting whitetail from 800 meters, canyon wall to canyon wall, and all sorts of stuff. We don't do that. We've built our program and course of fire to replicate what we do in the UK. So the majority of things you're going to do in Centrefire are going to be within that, I'll call it like a 300 meter bubble. I wouldn't intentionally look to engage live quarry at 300 meters. I'd want to get a lot closer. That's what stalking's about. But for those that regard us, they'd know that we had a stag at 750 meters.
Yeah, we had one stage, one target, 4 positions, and that stag was over 750 meters. We had another stage again with some large stag silhouettes and other silhouettes that were again at between 700 800 meters. So we've definitely pushed it out there.
And it's not because that's what we're saying people should be engaging live quarry at those distances in the UK. Absolutely not. But the most telling conversation I've had is with John O'Brien, who runs Orion in Wales. Those that know him know his background and what he's done for a living all of his life, but his passion is stalking. And when we were talking about the distances that we use, he immediately talked about the skill that's needed, that most people should have, or the confidence and the skill people should have to take that recovery shot. You know, you've gone to knock a deer down and it's not gone right for whatever reason and it's off. And anyone that's shot seeker will know that feeling when it disappears. You then may be forced to take a recovery shot at a distance that you're not typically comfortable with, that you certainly wouldn't go out and intend to engage live quarry with, should I say. That recovery shot could be the difference between a humane or as humane a possible kill and absolute failure. So being able to show people that that skill can be developed is brilliant. Yeah, it's a small section of what we look to achieve in a competition with the range of targetry, but we spoke to someone quite significant in the industry recently who made reference to the fact that improving marksmanship should be the focus of some of these big companies and some of these big agencies and authorities and all that sort of stuff, because not anyone. The art of stalking is something you can develop with time and commitment, but unless you're physically putting the rounds down and testing your rifle, your ammunition, and yourself, you're not going to be able to take those shots outside of your comfort zone when the pressure's on. So I find that a fascinating conversation. I really do.
Yeah, yeah. You touched on equipment there as well. So, you know, when you're talking about a long range recovery shot, you're talking about, you know, marksmanship skills, but also understanding, you know, ballistics, conditions, wind, your dope, and all of those separate factors. But then when you talk about equipment, hasn't it been quite interesting to see what equipment people are turning up with? And, you know, we bet a bottle of whiskey, didn't we, at the pro shoot match that, you know, next season would we have everybody shooting off tripods or everybody shooting off quad sticks? Quad sticks being very, very popular over here for hunting, tripods being very, very popular over in the States for hunting. And when you look at NRL hunter videos from the States, everybody's using tripods. Now, what I'm finding interesting is how whether people are turning up with quad sticks or they're turning up with tripods, or both for some people, it's the application of that equipment during matches, and you can see people, you know, being put into situations where they're having to use that equipment in ways that maybe they don't normally use it out in the field, but they're now seeing the advantage of being more proficient with that equipment and using the matches as a way to grow that proficiency. But then equally, people seeing other people with different types of equipment and getting interested in just exactly how they are using that equipment and how it might benefit them.
I think the proof of the pudding in that is I own more tripods than I care to, and I know you certainly do. And I own sticks, and I've used sticks in the past. We went to Stalking Show, and we were very fortunate to spend some time with Holly from Simpson Brothers with what were they called, those sticks?
The Viperflex.
Viperflex.
Yeah.
And she was showing us these things, and we were both, these are brilliant. And they have the sort of the additional leg at the front. Very, very clever piece of kit, and it got my sort of brain ticking over. Anyway, fast forward to the weekend just gone at Pro Shoot, and one of the lads turns up with the set. And they're a brilliant piece of kit, and they're stable, and I watched him use those throughout the day. What was really interesting was because there's two phases for me, aside of your stage prep and what have you. You're using your glass, then you're using your rifle. And to watch people and how they set themselves up stably to glass. So this particular chap, who'll forgive me for talking about him like he's not here, started glassing in a certain way. And then between stages found himself, we had a conversation about how you can use sticks to glass. And then eventually he was using his sticks to glass with his binos, and then was deploying his sticks for his rifle. And to watch that happen through the day and to watch other people watch it was fascinating. And at the end of the day, the conversations we were having about what you do next time and just how versatile a good set of sticks are, it is something a lot of people won't realize. And I'm fascinated to see how that progresses over the next few years.
Yeah, yeah. I think you know, I glass from the top of my sticks when I'm out in the field hunting, and just the convenience and the speed of setting up, getting your binos out and on top of them, it's certainly a lot quicker than getting out a tripod. But then shooting off a tripod, glassing off a tripod is probably more stable. And it's that trade-off, isn't it, between the speed and the stability, and that's going to be interesting to see which way competitors, which way hunters tend towards, what suits their style of shooting better, what they're more comfortable with. So yeah, it's going to be interesting.
Very interesting. We've mentioned Viperflex. We work with Mjolnir, and there's a whole host of other partners we work with that are all on the website. And in the fullness of time, we'll talk about all them and we'll invite them on and all those sorts of things. In terms of we've talked about Gardeners, which was fantastic, the Quarry for 2-2, Pro Shoot. The next endeavour for us is going back to Orion to shoot centrefire, or the next centrefire match, should I say, is Orion on the 14th of September. We're both excited about that, aren't we?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we touched on it already. Our GBPRA days started at Orion. We set up and hosted, match directed between ourselves and other members of the executive team at the time. 6 qualification matches at Orion for Team Great Britain and Northern Ireland. Was that 2021?
Sounds about right.
Oh,
Yeah.
2021 was it? Yeah. And then the first World Championships of 2022 in France. And just what an amazing range Orion is. I don't think there's any ranges that can do better than what you can get at Orion. And it was such a shame that dynamic steel target shooting sort of came to an end. Competition shooting of that sort came to an end at Orion. And I'm so excited that we finally got it back there. We always mention it, don't we? Isn't it a shame that we're not shooting a competition at Orion in some format, and now we've got it back?
I've made no secret of the fact, and I've been quite, I never wanted dynamic steel shooting to end at Orion. It was one of the things out of my control in the grand scheme of things, but I always said we'd get back there because of how good a venue it is for so many different reasons, and people will have to come and see firsthand what we mean. But you can literally do everything there, and the ability to move around the range is really, really, really easy. And what you've got there is a group of very experienced ROs. In John, you won't get a more experienced instructor and pastor of wisdom, and also talker of honesty, and another person with a very small filter when it comes to speaking his mind. But they're the conversations you need to be having if you're going to keep it honest and keep moving things forward.
And it was massively important for us as well that we take NRL Hunter UK around the United Kingdom. We didn't want to just have one centrefire range, one rimfire range where all of our efforts were focused. We wanted to be able to go to different ranges because we do find that different ranges bring different territory, different challenges, different conditions for hunters to deal with, different landscapes. Estill Muir is different to Orion, is different to, Otterburn, wherever else we might end up going. The Quarry for 2-2 is different in Hull, is different to Pro Shoot over in the south of Wales. And, and also it was about bringing the competition to people. Quite often some people are very lucky where they live in terms of what competitions they've got on the doorstep. Other people are very unlucky that they always seem to have to be travelling far distances. We wanted to be able to bring the competition, bring the series to those people, and give everybody that fair shot at an easy car journey.
And on that, we're not finished with venues yet. There's more venues that we're in the process of getting online that we're in discussions with. We found ourselves in a very difficult position. We came to the party late in terms of events, or calendar, should I say, booking events and getting on the calendar. We only started moving forwards December into January, by which time pretty much everywhere else was booked up and had announced. And we found ourselves in a difficult but welcome position. It's a great problem to have, trying to find dates to get events on trying our absolute hardest not to conflict with any other events, which is nigh on impossible. But trying to get all that done was always a massive challenge. Won't be a challenge next year. Next year, for anyone listening that's running events out there, we'll be in a position to talk about what dates we're running by the end of August this year for next year. And we hope to have more on the calendar well in advance of next year, so those people can book on, and we do everything we can to not conflict with other events. But it's going to happen. It's inevitable. We found ourselves in a position where we've been offered dates at ranges and we've said, no, I'm really sorry. The IPRF Worlds are on, or there's a PRS match on, and we've had to go without. And when people keep saying to us, why is the next such and such a match? When's that coming out? And we've been offered dates and we've had to say no, because we don't want to step on other people's toes. It's inevitably going to happen at some point. All we can say to people is if it does happen, it's not done with anything other than the best of intentions. But next year it won't be a problem, because we'll be well ahead of it all. And the biggest mistake we could make this year is not taking advantage of the momentum at certain ranges. So Orion being a great example. What we're on May, we could have run an event next month at Orion if we wanted. We were offered dates in June, let's be straight about it. But there was other things going on, and we said we're not going to do that. And then we got offered dates in July. We're not going to do that. August, no, we're not going to do that because we're going to step on their toes. So we found ourselves in September. Was it perfect? No. Was it something that could work? Yes. What I hope will happen is that eventually you as a shooter won't have to pick between one or another, and you can go and do everything you want and fit it all into a calendar, and hopefully everyone will make it as affordable as possible and accessible as possible, and shooting will continue to grow as a sport. That's going to take time.
We even clashed with ourselves, didn't we, for the pro shoot match that we've just had?
Oh,
So we had
didn't get wet though, did we?
so myself and Simon, we look after a Home Office approved rifle club along with our good pal Rob Lonsdale, Jackal Rifle Club, and on the weekend of our pro shoot 2-2 match, there was actually a Jackal Rifle Club centre fire range day up at Otterburn going on. So, you know, we know that there was a lot of guys that would have loved to have come and shot our pro shoot match. We would have loved to have gone to Otterburn for that range day, but that was the date that we could secure pro shoot. There wasn't much else. I mean, Paint Mines had a match on the day before, DVGC had a match on, an NRL 2-2 match the day before as well. Again, you know, as Simon said, it's very, very hard to find a weekend that is free because the calendar is so congested every year now. It never used to be like that, but it is now. And yeah, we were even, like I say, clashing with events that we wanted to go and join in on.
That's my happy time going up to Otterburn.
Yeah.
For those that have known me for a while and will notice that I tend to run events more than shoot them, that's because the events I want to be, or where I want to be shooting, is 1400 meters from my 303 or HME up at Otterburn, and that's you know my pleasure. So we had to forego that to run an event down at Pro Shoot, which I would do again in a heartbeat because it was such a good event with such great people and everything went perfectly. But yeah, we're even conflicting with ourselves. That's how difficult it is. But it's only a temporary thing. Normal service will resume, and we look to have a full calendar for next year well in advance of next year. So hopefully you'll be able to make informed decisions and plan accordingly and not feel like you have to pick between one or the other, which again, we're doing everything we can to avoid happening.
Yeah, yeah. And I know there's some people that are getting a little bit frustrated at the moment. Was it Ryan was messaging me today because we announced the Orion date, and he's like, "Oh, I'm in Europe for a match," and he couldn't come to the pro shoot one because he was in Kazakhstan for an event. And it's just like some people are desperate to come and shoot the matches, but just can't find the time.
Yeah, and again, people we even had people we announced pro shoot, and people who already booked the holidays up. School holidays, they were away in Portugal, and these are people that would have come. So yeah, it's one of those things. This is the first year we've done this. We'll continue to be as accommodating as possible forever, but this year is especially accommodating. We could have run more shoots by now, but we've made a decision not to, so we don't inconvenience people. And equally, if there's big gaps between now and September, there will be. I'm not going to lie to you. We're at the moment, there's potential we're going to announce another match between now and September. but
Yeah.
we're doing as much as we can when we can with deconflicting dates. We're doing everything we can to sort of try and make that work. But again, this is a temporary thing, and I'm confident the next year it won't
And
be a major issue.
and as Simon said earlier, we are in the first year of NRL Hunter in the United Kingdom, and we're learning not just about how to run a competition, how to run a series, but we're also learning about how to best set up the ranges for this type of competition. You need a lot of space for an NRL Hunter match, and making sure that what space you've got at each range you use wisely to produce blind stages where people can't see the targetry, um, and you're able to bring the distances into play and do all that safely and maintain your arcs of fire within the range templates and all that. That's been a real feat. So we are on a real learning journey in terms of how to put matches on at these ranges and what works well at the ranges. So, and then obviously making sure then once we've got that right, that then there's the quality of the state of each stage being a good stage that people find challenging and enjoyable and achievable, but not too easy. And
And
um, and so what we've done is we very consciously not wanted to have too many competitors at every match because that just puts a lot of pressure on the range, puts a lot of pressure on ROs that have never experienced these sorts of matches before, puts the pressure on myself and Simon. If we're honest with ourselves, the match at Gardens where we had over 30 shooters, we probably could have done with a few less.
yeah. I mean, I apologies, I've sort of started to talk over you, but you were touching on the point that you then made about the ROs. I think I'm probably about as qualified and experienced an RO as you're going to get in this country. It was a complete new thing for me. Hey, I've taken to it like a duck from duck to water. I love it. I love the whole way the stages work, and RO in it is an absolute joy. But we've had to significantly upskill some already very skilled ROs. So you've got this Christian and I learn in the middle. Then we're going to have to adapt the ranges from the purpose they've always served to now serve this other purpose where we're using bushes and things that people never used before to make blind stages. And range operators are going, why do you need to be over there? And then Christian will show them what's in his head and they'll go, oh, that makes sense.
You want a firing point where?
Where? Behind the bush. We don't, that's where the cows are. Yes, behind the bush, so we can shoot over. Right. Then you're surrounded by all these very experienced shooters / ROs who know what they're doing on their own ranges. And we're having to say, right, let me explain something new to you. And here we go. We're very fortunate to spend some time with one of the very experienced ROs at Pro Shoot on the weekend. And some of the conversations we had on the Saturday, and it was so refreshing because you could see this person who clearly was massively skilled in what they were already doing, qualified, and all that sort of stuff. He was going, so where should I be? Where should I be in relation to the shooter? And we were saying, well, you want to be on the bolt side so you can see any misfire or you can see them manipulate the bolt and all that sort of stuff. So, and those that were at Gardeners with the big distances, it was a massive learning curve. They've taken it phenomenally, but just upskilling ROs in itself is a day's work. So when you're upskilling them on the day of the match, hats off to them. Some people have put some proper graft in. They've all come to us afterwards and says, that was brilliant. When can I do another one? And they will shoot it. So all that work happened at the same time. This isn't precision rifle. We know how to do precision rifle. We've been doing it a long time now. We're in the rhythm. Everyone's got the same kit and everyone's ROing the same way consistently and making courses of fire the same way and target difficulty splits are looking the same now. And it's not like when we have matches that too difficult, it seems to be right. We're literally making this all up on the hoof and flying by the seat of our pants. And I wouldn't have it any other way, to be honest, because it's been phenomenal fun.
Yeah, it has been good. I mean, the sense of achievement you get after running one of these matches as the people that are organising it and putting on the course of fire and making sure that everybody's safe and you come out of the other end of that match and you've done the tear down and everything and you're eating the McDonald's at the service station at a ridiculous hour on the night time, having not had a shower for a few days, and you're happy as Larry, aren't you? It's just great. Yeah, it's good. We're not doing it for the money, believe me, but we are doing it because we have a great time. We get that sense of accomplishment, having felt like we've achieved something, felt like we've given people a really good time. And what I'm really enjoying about it is building that new community of hunters through the things that we're doing with the social evenings, the barbecues, and all of that. It's just an amazing journey.
And that is something that I remember. Crikey, I remember going down to Tiff's at Roundhouse before the PRL evening was a thing, and it was very social. We'd have a barbecue and camp in the bunkhouse and all that sort of stuff. Then PRL happened, and it all was very social and barbecues, and we go to Orion and then we go to the Bluebell afterwards with John, and it was great and all that sort of stuff. And to be able to do that and make that a mainstay. So, like here's a mention for James from Jaeger Sporting, one of our partners. You'll all have met James if you've been to events. Like just putting on burgers and sausages and stuff at a barbecue got a long time. He didn't have to do that. He just offered to do it. It was fantastic. And we had dozens of people just stood around having a burger and chatting. People that had never met before becoming friends the night before. Then the next day, most people knew each other, and it was such a great environment. With the same at Pro Shoot, we'll do the same everywhere we go. We had a couple of people say, "Oh, I wish I'd known you were camping at Pro Shoot." We were still learning. We were so busy. I forgot the tent pegs. You forgot your mallet. We were thinking about so many other things that just slipped to mind. But next time, it won't.
Yeah.
And it's our plan to have camping at every venue the night before, ideally free. If not, it'll cost very little. Barbecue, ideally free. If not, it'll cost a little. But who cares about a few sausages? We bring your own sausages. And just have a chance to build that community spirit and get more people to, in this day and age when, a lot of people don't talk about things, we're encouraged to, Andy's man shed and all that sort of stuff, getting like-minded individuals around a fire just to talk about life in the universe is never a bad thing. And that is something that is really, really important to us. And anyone that's got any great ideas on how to make that even better, then we're all ears.
Yeah, it's something I always enjoy about going to competitions, the social crack, and we want to make sure that we get that right for an RL hunter.
Very much so. And so you're sitting here thinking, what's next? So what's next is we've just opened booking for Orion, and it's starting to fill up already, which is great. The Irish boys are first at everything, aren't they, these days?
Jerry and Dylan, they booked on within like half an hour of advertising the event.
So we'll be at Orion. We'll probably, hopefully, try and release some other dates very soon for other ranges. We're just trying to deconflict stuff and fitting with calendars. We're going to be at Harrogate week after next, 10th, 11th of May, at the National Shooting Show, or the Northern Shooting Show for those old enough to remember it, and its previous guys. There will be a NRL hunter stand, bright orange thing that you won't be able to miss, outside Hall 2, where I normally am with my Jackal Firearm stand. It'll be an NRL Hunter one this year, and we'll have Sally and Bella on there, we'll have Savage on there, we'll have Vortex on there, we'll have Viking on there, we'll have all sorts of stuff going on. And it'll be a great opportunity for you to come and see us. If you come along, sign up as a member. There's some good prizes being given away. We need to talk about ProTac in a minute, because we've started to talk about steel and then gone off topic. We need to talk about ProTac. There'll be ProTac steel on there. There'll be barrels from ZPV. There'll be Mjolnir sticks. There'll be other things we're giving away. And all you have to do is become a member. And those that are already members will then be entered into that free draw. So even if you don't come and you're already a member, you might find yourself winning something and me messaging you saying what's your address to post it to. So get yourself signed up as a member, and then you stand a chance of winning something for doing nothing. At the moment, membership's free. It's free for all this year. You've nothing to lose. Beyond that, we'll be at Doncaster, back end of September, 28th, or what's off the top of my head. Same format, NRL Hunter, big orange tent outside where we were last year, barbecue and a few beers and all those sorts of things. A great opportunity for us to catch up with members, people that want to be members or want to talk about Hunter, talk to the Hunter community and see what we can do to improve what we're already doing. Feedback is something we will always accept. We will never say we're doing it right and best and we know it all. Absolutely not. Feedback. And it will take us into where we're going next, because there's more things we need to talk about. But come and see us at an event, book onto an event, come and see us at Harrogate or Doncaster, and we'll spend all the time in the world we can talking about everything NRL Hunter and all of our partners and building the community.
Yeah. If you want to, sounds like we're wrapping up. If you want to
No,
find
no, it's
us
not. I was
and
going to do something else next, but
if you want to find, well, now's a good time. If you want to find us and become a member, get some more information, www.nrlhunter.co.uk. We're on social media as at NRL Hunter _UK, YouTube channel where you might be watching this if you're not listening to it on Spotify. But yeah, YouTube channel, Instagram, Facebook page, Facebook members group. We've got the website, lots of places where you can get in touch with us and find out and see what we're doing.
people are going to ask about merch because I've been asked already. We're in the process of getting all. We've been making merchandise and giving it away at shoots, hats, hoodies, woolly hats, patches, all that sort of stuff. Eventually, that'll all be on the website. But if you want to come to a show, I'm sure you can prize something out of my tight Yorkshire grip. For
Can we
now,
get some branded sun cream?
brandy sun cream.
So,
Koozies. If come to Harrogate and there may be some koozies knocking about. Wink,
right,
wink.
okay. If anybody is watching this on YouTube and you're wondering why I'm bright red, I'm drinking non-alcoholic beer, so it's not the alcohol. It's just that I got an absolute stonker of a sunburn at pro shoot on at the weekend at our match because I forgot my sun cream.
I'm peeling already, in fairness,
Yeah,
so I can't say out. So merchandise is something I wanted to talk about because Christian's got his very pretty hat on. I left mine at home when I came to the shop, so I forgot it. The other thing I wanted to talk about, and it wasn't me ending by saying come and see us at shows. One of the things we need to talk about as a community, because we are a community, you're part of our community, is training. He's not just running competitions, he's running training. Training is so important. If it's done properly, it can be incredibly effective. If it's cost effective, it can be prolific and prevalent everywhere. The danger is it becomes something that ceases to fulfill its ultimate aim, which is to develop shooters in the fields that they need developing in. So I've had the pleasure of standing behind some really, really good marksmen at NRL Hunter stages who've just gone to bits because the glassing's failed them. For whatever reason, the ability to locate the target failed. I've then watched really good people who can find the targets, then struggle to range them and do all the data on the BP stuff, which I don't do. He does, but I don't. I just use force. Then you come on to marksmanship. I mean, we can talk about building stages and stage prep and all that sort of stuff in its own right, but marksmanship is something everyone understands. A lot of people will be really, really competent already with a lot of these things. Glassing is something that I was taught to do pretty much alongside being taught to stalk when I very first started shooting back in the day. And glassing was hammered into me. And it's something I've always done or always seen as being really important. But that's for some people, that's a new skill. And what we're doing now is working with some really, really good, working with some other people who are really well positioned in this industry to start building training. And what we need is your thoughts on what you as an individual would like to see in training. We've got our ideas about what we think it should be, but opening conversation early about how training can best benefit our community is really, really important. What I will say is training's got to be three things: consistent, delivered by credible people, and done in a manner whereby it's safe and lawful and legal and insured and all that sort of stuff. But so as long as those things are achieved, now we're already having conversation with venues about the right people to deliver training. We call them coaches. Coaching is different to training. I think coaching is more of it sort of infers more of a long-term support as opposed to one-off training. So I'm looking at coaches as being someone that can play a big part in someone's life consistently over a period of time, constantly invested in them. Coaching is also a word that's used within the NRL Hunter rules, that you can be coached to a skill stage. So there's an element to that as well. So with these venues will come coaches that will be accredited, insured, and DB checked and all those sorts of things. I'm very fortunate to work quite extensively within the NRA framework when it comes to training. The NRA instructors course is fantastic, and I personally believe anyone that is going to impart knowledge to people in a firearms world should have at least some form of qualification like that. So again, you've got to know that the people are credible, but it's also done in the correct way. And then consistency is the key. There's no point someone going up to train at a venue in the north of England and getting different material as in the south of England. And one of our challenges, tasks, is to find that consistency. And that in itself is an art form with different people. So if you're out there and you have an interest in this subject, or you've got something that you could add value, discuss it with us, reach out to us. We're everywhere, social medias and stalking directories and all that sort of stuff, because training is coming. When training comes, I think people were very happy with the direction we're going with it. And I'm certainly very much buoyed by some of the feedback we've had from third parties, other organisations saying, we like what you're doing, we want to do some work with you, and we like what we're hearing, and we seem to be on the same page. So I think as a community, I think you'll be really happy with what we're going to do with training. We just need to make sure that it's training that you guys can contribute to in terms of the direction we take it. So thinking hats on, get yourself to a match, get yourself to Doncaster, get yourself to Harrogate, come and talk to us about training, come and talk to us about what you think you need, and we'll go from there.
Excellent. Well said.
Happens every now and again. We're probably about an hour or so now. I've not got a little timer in the corner of my screen, but I think
It always goes. It always surprises me when we do a podcast how quick the
time
time
flies
goes,
when you're having fun.
isn't it?
I think we've covered everything, mate. We could do a different podcast on everything. We can do one on kit. We can do one on stage prep. We can do one on glassing. We can do one on wind. I can bring my little puffy chalk puffer to get wind. I think it's been really good. Hopefully, people out there will see where we're coming from. Hopefully, those that have given us the privilege of running a match for them. Yeah, correct. I caught myself then again. Will have heard it firsthand, and we've had some really grown-up conversations and positive conversations with people about what we're doing. For everyone that supported us so far by either listening to the podcast, becoming a member, coming to a shoot, talking to us on social media, giving us feedback, all those sorts of things. Hey, what's interesting, I was going to say thank you to those people. We had our first member join today that hasn't got an FAC, didn't we?
Yeah, we did actually. Yeah.
And that's someone who is already in the world. I want to say they've got a shotgun. I want to say off the top of my head, without talking out of turn. But they're looking to get into what we're doing at the stage. They're looking to apply for an FAC. So if you're out there and listening and you've not got an FAC and you are looking at getting into it, there's no requirement for you to be shooted or to hold an FAC to join. Get yourself in amongst it. We've got a Facebook members group. I don't like Facebook, but it's a necessary evil in this day and age, where we communicate stuff out. The Rangemate system we work, kudos to Dan from Rangemates, brilliant piece of kit. We put announcements out and we can have conversations or stimulate discussions on there with things we can put out. So yeah, for all those people that have supported us so far, thank you very much. Keep doing it. We'll continue to do our best to make this as much fun for you as it can be, as informative and beneficial, and also keeping the prices down and trying to make it sustainable, because the one way to kill something is to make it too expensive. That's what we can't do.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
And
yeah,
we'll
no,
look
it's
to
been
have a lot
great.
more podcasts.
That's it. First podcast done. First NRL Hunter UK podcast.
Brilliant. Are you going to continue to do your closing thing where you tell people to be nice to each other, or are you going to do something different?
I'm just going to echo the thanks that you gave to everybody. You know, whether it's our community partners, title partners, range operators, ROs, the competitors themselves. You know, it's just been fantastic, hasn't it? What a great few months.
Yeah.
An absolute whirlwind of setting up the website, getting the infrastructure in place, putting on 3 matches already. You know, it's just been a crazy journey. We haven't even caught our breaths yet, but yeah, looking forward to the rest of the season.
I'm just counting my fingers because I'm not that bright. You know, we're into May now. The irony is we've achieved what we've achieved and done so much, and we've got more matches lined up, and we're doing things with training and all those sorts of things. 6 months ago, we had no plan to do this.
Yeah.
That's how serious it's been. This time 6 months ago, no plan. We were just getting on. We had other stuff we were concentrating on. Life was ticking along nicely, and then boom, have some bright orange logos and go.
Was it shook hands with Travis in December?
Yeah. And here we are.
And here we are.
and long may it continue. Right, it's been great, mate, as always. We could do this for hours, but I think we'd keep this one relatively short. There'll be more podcasts coming in relation to all the stuff we've talked about and all the things you see on YouTube and all the questions people ask about NRL Hunter. So we'll get there. Just bear with us. Just be sure to come back and see us again sometime. Thanks a lot, folks.
All right. Be good one with it. Bye-bye.
There's nothing but a couple of guys running around out there, and we gotta take them down.
You still don't understand it, Dylan, do you? Whatever it is out there, we killed Hopper. And now it wants us.